Hi guys, in this video I'm reviewing the Philips Fidelio X2HR headphones after my trusty Sennheiser HD600 broke last week. Actually, what broke is this plastic headband over here. I was just taking them off and then it split in two. The headphones themselves, though the ears still work because the headband just keeps them together, but well, it's not really usable. That made me really sad because Sennheiser HD600 was my favorite pair of headphones. They were with me together for about 10 years, together with my Sheet Magni Modi stack, which is a digital to analog converter headphone amplifier stack. It got popular like 12 years ago, and well, they served me faithfully ever since. I checked online and if I can find a replacement, and I saw that Fidelio XH2 was on sale again. They go on sale quite often. I got it, and in this video I'm going to tell you why, what I think of them, and if you should get them yourself. All right, so maybe a bit of personal history first. If you don't want to listen to this, jump forward to the next timestamp below. So, I, like most people in the world, love listening to music, and headphones offer a relatively inexpensive way to get good sound compared, for example, to a speaker setup. For example, for listening in my living room, I use Audio Engine HD6. Those are the Bluetooth-enabled bookshelf speakers, which are powerful enough for any records I put on my record player, or for Apple Music feed from the iPhone, or even from my Bluetooth-enabled iPod. They're what's called a budget audiophile grade, and I really love them for this. However, they're not very convenient to bring with you on the go or have it in your workplace, hence why people use headphones. Headphones come in various types, right? You have closed, wireless, wired, open, and they are used for different use cases like studio headphones, monitoring headphones, or sometimes they're just headphones that people use for casual listening. They depend on their sound characteristics and more importantly also on whether they're closed or open. So on the last topic, open headphones have this perforated outer shell that allows the sound and the air to pass through. And this design creates a natural and spacious soundstage, but it also leaks sound outward and ambient noise in, so people will actually hear what you're listening on them. Closed headphones, like for example this wireless Sony, have sealed ear cups that block external noise and prevent sound leakage, making them better for privacy and, well, noisy environments, especially if they have noise cancellation like this Sony noise cancelling headphones that I'm holding here. So basically, as you saw, I had a number of great headphones over the years. The first model that blew my mind was the Sennheiser 598. Once I tried them on, I got hooked on audiophile gear, basically. The feeling was like they opened an entire new world for me behind the familiar songs. I heard more details, the instruments and the vocals were so clear. That really defined and I understood what the word fidelity in hi-fi abbreviation meant. Normally, our brains are very good at hiding imperfections in whatever sensory experiences we're having. For example, we overlook details and don't really hear imperfections in the sound, especially if we like the song or we're familiar with the music already. However, when we finally listen to high fidelity sound equipment, this veil is broken and we suddenly notice what we have been missing before. So eventually I moved on from Sennheiser 598 and settled on my current selection of headphones. So I have a Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro. These are very good old model of studio headphones that are still produced with a neutral profile, and that means that they reproduce the sound to how it is supposed to be heard. This particular pair is 32 ohms in terms of impedance, and maybe a quick explanation what impedance is. So it's written here 32 ohms. I'm not sure if you hear this, but basically it represents how easy it is to drive these headphones, meaning how much power you need to make these headphones sound optimally or reach the optimum sound level. And the lower impedance value is, the less power you need from the device you're playing your music from. So these bad boys you can power with an iPod, a phone with an audio jack, or any other low power device. I like these headphones because they're very sturdy. They're basically indestructible. They are from steel here. They give nice sound, and they are closed, meaning you can wear them in the workplace with no one hearing what you're listening to, and you're not going to be disturbed by sound outside. I also have, you just saw it, also have a wireless noise cancelling XM4 from Sony, which are super uncomfortable to wear for long periods of time because of this very thin headband. I also don't really like their phone app, which constantly desyncs it from whatever devices it has, and their music quality is really subpar. However, they have noise cancellation, which is super for noisy environments. Following the discovery of Sennheiser 598, I basically dived deep into the hole of finding the even better headphones for myself, and I found them in Sennheiser HD600. This is a legendary model that have been updated several times already, yet it is still considered a poster child for other high-end headphones and basically an icon of the industry. Compared to the Beyerdynamic model that I talked about before, HD600 has an impedance of 300 ohms, which is a lot. So 32 ohms versus 300 ohms. It means that to properly drive them, you usually need an external amp. That's why I got my Sheet Magni Modi stack. Some modern devices, like a MacBook Pro right here, are capable of driving cans with such impedance, but when I got them around 12 years ago, it was much more difficult. And that's why I actually got the external amp. Probably you don't need it right now for this kind of headphones. However, the stack still gives you a very nice, clean sound, but maybe I'll make another video about that. So anyway, the HD600 were an end game for me. They are perfect in terms of sound. Some consider them flat, but I think a lot of people don't plug them into a capable amp to really explore what they're capable of. The sound they produce is wide, clear, powerful, especially on a complex tracks. You can hear so much. The instruments on the stage, breath that the singer has between the verses, for example, all those little details suddenly become so audible and real to you. Compared with a very wide soundstage, it's really feels like you're in the studio room where they are recording it. And actually, when I first heard them, I really couldn't stop listening to music. So if I would have them on and a song started playing, especially the ones that I really liked, I couldn't really put them down until the song was done. That's how fantastic these headphones are. If you want to know more about them, you can still access an old review of a fantastic Till Hertzen from Inner Fidelity. So inner fidelity is long gone, and Till moved on from headphone reviews to, I think, being a nomad. But everything he outlines in his review, the legend he is, holds true to this day. So I will put a link to this to his review below if you just want to know more about it from a professional that Till is, and not, well, not from me, who is really an amateur. Apart from HD600, Till also praised this X2HR headphones when he reviewed them. He praised them for very nice sound profile, also wide soundstage, and overall value, and really compared them very favorably to the HD600. Basically, when the HD600 broke down, because it's made out of plastic, and the plastic will always age and become frail with time, I googled online for a replacement part, and unfortunately there is no replacement parts that are officially available from Sennheiser, and the unofficial parts cost around 80 euros, 80 pounds, or $80, which is an okay price if you think that those headphones new cost around 350, 400 euros. However, I thought, well, they're already 12 years old. That made me think back to what can I get right now in terms of the new headphones. And then I remembered the review of Till of X2HR. So I checked Amazon, and it was a Black Friday sale, and saw them at 80 euros, new in a box, ready for the taking. At this point, you might ask, okay, but why buy a 10-year-old model? And my argument for this would be as follows. One, if the model was considered great 10 years ago, it would be great today. Audio equipment doesn't age as fast as anything else that we have in the industry, like smartphones. Two, it's a model that is tested by time. And third, well, it was 80 euros, the same price that the replacement headband cost for HD600. In fact, it frequently drops to 80 euros, at least here in the Netherlands, and I'm pretty sure in other countries as well. Okay, so now that I have explained all the backstory and how I actually ordered these headphones, let's talk about what did I find in this box. All right, so what's in the box? The Fidelio X2 comes in a very slick and minimalist box. The headphones themselves, well, they have a very premium feel. They have a very sturdy steel construction, and velour ear pads, the ones you can actually take off. And, well, they have a 3-meter cable which can be taken out and is very long and durable. In terms of looks, they visually remind me of Grado headphones with the grills on the sides. So if you ever saw the Grado iconic looks, then you definitely will recognize the similarities here. So in a nutshell, the Fidelio X2 looks very good in my opinion. When coming to construction, they're very sturdy, and most of the joints in the band are made with steel. Compared to classic headphone size, they have these adjustment sliders, so it kind of is a self-adjusting headband with an elastic strap. So when you put it on your head and slide it, the phones over your ears, it will just fit perfectly on your head. There is no clicky headband that you have in other headphones like HD600 or in the Sony ones. And I didn't really notice any discomfort while wearing them for hours. They're super soft and comfortable, and velour on the pads is very plushy, and it's, well, very nice to have on your ears. And also they are removable, the velour pads, and replaceable. They also come with a corded cable. It's 3 meters, a bit long on the side, also with an adapter. So by default it's 3.5 millimeters, but it has a 5.25 millimeter adapter here. Now, that's basically it. They're very comfortable, but how do they actually sound? And with regards to the sound at headphones or any audio equipment is a very subjective topic, and there are many reviews of these headphones online. with many graphs and analysis of frequencies and responses and whatnot. Basically, well, if we look at the reviews, a lot of them find that Fidelio X2 is a high-resolution headphone with a neutral, maybe a bit bassy soundstage. Some of them are a bit critical on the details on how these headphones sound in the high range or in the low range. Others reviews say they are great. So if you want to listen to some in-depth technical explanation on their sonic performances, let's dive a bit more into technical details, and if not, then you can skip to the next stage.
Okay guys, so now we are going to look at some measurements, and I'll explain to you how usually you can compare headphones to another headphones and judge them by their measurements. And also I'll touch a little bit on the subject why sometimes it's not as important. So on the screen right now you see the measurements for Sennheiser HD600 on the left, and on the right Philips Fidelio X2 that I'm wearing right now and I'm reviewing in this video. Both of these PDFs, they originate from the Inner Fidelity reviews. Both the reviews for Inner Fidelity that I mentioned earlier by TLDR, they're now under the new website Stereophile. Stereophile adopted all the Inner Fidelity material, so they are all here. They are still available fully with all the audio materials as well as measurements. So these measurements that I just showed you, they're here, and you can get them for all the headphones that were reviewed. And if you're interested to know how exactly they were reviewing the headphones at Inner Fidelity, there is this additional article, how Inner Fidelity measured the headphones. Going back to the measurements, oh, and by the way, if you want to read about some newer reviews and not reviews by TLDR from 2014, so, well, 10 years ago, there's also a lot of nice reviews on Ratings. So Ratings is a very good website with very good methodology for reviewing all kind of things, including the headphones. So please, you can also check them, and I will use some of their measurements to explain a little bit more in a second. And by the way, when you just look at the measurements, also consider the fact that those are just values, so they do not represent how exactly the headphones fit your head, how you hear them, and there are many things that might annoy one person but other person will like. So Ratings also have a very nice article here, One Curve Doesn't Fit All, about how different measurement curves they liked by some people and disliked by others. So check this out if you're interested in this topic as well. So back to this graphs from Inner Fidelity. Let's compare the frequency response first, because I think this is the most popular one and the most interesting graph that is usually shared in any review that you have on the headphones, and that's how you usually review the accuracy of the headphones. What does a frequency response graph tell us? So again, on the left, Sennheiser HD600, and on the right, Fidelio X2. And X2, that's what I forgot to mention actually, that Till reviews Fidelio X2, but X2HR, which I have on my head and which I'm reviewing in this video, it's the same model. Philips just updated it as time went on, and there are some other improvements, but the sonic profile stayed the same. So back to the measurements. What the measurements represent? They represent the relationship between the amplitude of, well, basically the signal strength, the audio strength, basically the volume of the headphones, related to the frequency of the sound signal. So on the x-axis you have the frequency, and on the y-axis you have the amplitude in the decibels. And these measurements here are raw. So basically the HD600 on the left compared to Fidelio X2 on the right, raw as it was measured using the device. And as you can see, although the graphs go until from 10 Hertz to 100 kilohertz, it stops around 2000 kilohertz, and that's because a human ear cannot distinguish anything after 20 kilohertz. So what do these graphs tell us? Well, on the left, in the bass region, so the bass is a little bit up until 250 hertz, or sometimes 300 hertz, so subjective a little bit. As you can see, the X2 has a bit higher curve than HD600, and that's why they say that X2 has a little bit more bass, and that's true. So as you can see, the bass in the lower region would be a bit more audible on X2. In the, let's say, the mid-range, they are all flat, and as you can see, the curves are very different in the way how they go. So I will only focus on the way in the ways how they differ. What you want to see in this graph is that the lines should be smooth. Basically, if you look at the raw footage and you can see spikes or quick roll-offs, then that might represent something that would disturb you in that region. So, for example, in the treble region, so in the high frequencies, as you can see, the HD600 is much more smoother than X2. So X2 here gets a little bit spiky and rolls off very fast after it reaches the very high frequencies. That probably means that you can experience this as less precise in the high frequencies, but also that you will miss very, very high details. For normal listener, that might not be noticeable, but implicitly you would feel the track as or music as less airy or what's considered detailed. So that's about the raw frequency response. What can you tell about it just by looking at it? Well, not much. So smart people decided to create something that's called a curve that is a normalized curve. Ratings have exactly this thing. That is the curve that ratings use to compare their headphones in their reviews. And it's based on the research by Harman and represents the theoretical ideal curve that, if followed as much as possible, would produce balanced and clear sound that would be liked by, let's say, 99% of people. So again, it's very theoretical, but it's a comprehensive research that produced these results. Therefore, you might as well believe it. And in their testing, ratings compares the headphones on deviations from this ideal curve, from Harman's curve. Yeah, so if we take the tool from ratings.com, they have the tool where you can compare headphones on multitude of dimensions, and this one in particular is based on the Harman curve. So you have this target here, which represents the Harman curve, and in blue you have the Sennheiser HD600 measurements, and in green you have Fidelio X2HR measurements. And as you can see, on the horizontal axis, the measurements are nicely separated from low bass to mids to trebles, all the way to high treble. The high treble is here marked with yellow. You should take them with a grain of salt, as ratings themselves say. The measurements in this dimension are very difficult to do accurately, and the way how the sound be perceived by a listener really depends on each individual physiology, so basically your ears and how your hearing is. The rest of it is very similar to the measurements previously from the inner fidelity. So you have the bass performance of HD600 that is a little bit low, and Fidelio X2HR has a higher, closer to the Harman's curve performance, meaning that they are indeed a little bit more bassy. From the mid bass all the way to the high mids, as you can see, both headphones follow the curve pretty much accurately, and with one exception, the Fidelio X2HR deviates a little bit from the curve here. So again, they are not as precise as HD600, but most probably you will not hear these differences as a casual listener. However, in the treble region, so starting from the low treble, as you can see, the HD600 follows it all the way up to the middle of the low treble and then falls below the curve and rolls off somewhere in the high treble region. But the Fidelio X2HR already is below the Harman's curve at the low treble, overshoots it in the mids, falls down, and so on. So the fact that the graph here deviates so much probably is the cause for many reviewers to say that in the treble regions, in the high regions, they are not as precise, so their sound is not smooth and detailed, probably because the headphones react so much. It's so much different between the frequencies that are near each other compared to the HD600. And also in the very high treble regions, so from 10 kilohertz to 20 kilohertz, X2HR rolls off down quite rapidly, meaning that indeed the detail in the highs and what's called airy sound is just not there. So that's, I think, a very nice tool. There are many other tools, and I don't think that we need to go over them in detail because, well, the review is not about the technical details. I don't really think they would be of any benefit for this video, to be honest, except for the frequency graph, which we saw in RAW and which we saw compared to the Harman's curve of the ratings tool. If you're interested in exploring more what kind of information you can get from these measurements, feel free to go to the inner fidelity explanation, how they measure them. For this particular comparison and for this review, I think frequency response is enough. Everything else is not that important. The Philips Fidelio X2HR are very accurate. They don't have a lot of noise introduced or distortion introduced in their sound. They are open, so you can hear everything that is happening around you, and people can hear everything that you are listening to, will be audible, and so on. So to summarize, basically, Philips Fidelio and Sennheiser HD600 are not equivalent headphones. They're quite similar. And if you look at the measurements, you can see indeed that Fidelio is a bit more bassy and not as detailed in the high regions, in the treble region. Those are, though, measurements, as I explained before. The subjective experience differs, and I will tell you about my subjective experience in the next section.
But of course, ultimately, when it comes to the enjoyment of the headphones, even if they're perfectly technically capable cans, it will boil down to your personal experience. Not only because each of us has their own preferences for the sound, but also because of the comfort of the headphones themselves. So how they feel, how they sit on your head. This influences our experiences dramatically. That's why I maybe don't really like these Sony headphones, because they're uncomfortable for me. So if I try to compare the Fidelio X2 to the Sennheiser HD600, I can only say that they're on the same playing field in terms of sound clarity and quality for me. Making a preference would be very hard because how much I'm used to HD600 headphones. And well, how much time I spent with them, and they hold a very special place in my heart. I know how HD600 sounds, I know how they sit in my head, and X2HR sit differently and sound differently as well. It doesn't mean that they sound wrong or worse though, so I honestly couldn't perceive a noticeable loss of fidelity when listening the same track on each of these headphones, and I must say I also enjoy Fidelio X2HR a lot. They are great. They produce a very detailed, impressively wide soundstage, giving a very live concert feel. The bass is tight, not deafening at all, with the mids and highs also being very crystal clear, meaning that they are kind of versatile for all genres, from folk to jazz to rock, which you would expect from high resolution, high fidelity headphones. So they are fantastic for any kind of music. I like a variety of music styles, with maybe an exception for something like noise or thrash metal. And X2HR are wonderful. They deliver on folk tracks like Bob Dylan, vocal ranges like, I don't know, Lana Del Rey, guitar intense tracks, bass, saxophone bass, and whatever you will throw at them, they will handle it beautifully. I use these headphones with my Sheet Modi Magni stack, and because the headphones are just 32 ohms, I have to keep the volume knob almost in the off position. X2HR require less power to drive. However, that's also good news for you if you want to buy them, since you won't need necessarily an external amplifier for headphones like this. So in a nutshell, you can plug them in your phone if it has a 3.5mm jack, or your trusty old iPod, and enjoy your music in a very high, very clear, very beautiful definition on this wonderful 10-year-old cans. And the benefit of having a 10-year-old cans is that sometimes you can get them for the 80 euros on the Black Friday sale on Amazon. I still feel that they sound better on the Sheet stack, so a dedicated DAC and amp, but it might be just my bias talking, because I still feel that they sound good on the laptop and the iPod. So that's it. That's my review. I hope you enjoyed it. Looking forward, I'll probably try to fix the HD600, but until then, I'm more than happy with my X2HR Fidelio from Philips. I'm quite saddened by the fact that Philips decided to stop with the Fidelio line, because it would be great to have some more competition in the space of audio products, especially with a product that continues to be great so long after its release, with its, well, literally timeless design, high comfort, and sound quality. That's it for now. I'm more than happy to answer your questions or comments if you have any regarding these cans or any other headphones. So leave them in the comments below. And if not, well, then I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you in the next video.